Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be showing 3 different starts and ways to play as the Mississippian in the Ancient Age. This is a civilization that I also very much wanted to test a little bit more on. I recently did a tier list. I scored the Mississippians a little bit lower, or quite a bit lower than a lot of other people thought they should be. Spreadsheet warning. That way you know your children won't see the spreadsheet. We do have to give the warning. It's required by law. But we scored the Mississippians relatively low. And a big part of that is I thought that their age transition wasn't that good. And I felt that they had a food focus. And in general, I think a food focus by itself is pretty weak. You might notice Kumai, which basically only has a food focus, is extraordinarily weak. But it's been brought to my attention by people on the Discord as well as in the comment section that perhaps I didn't score Mississippians as well in terms of gold. And if they have a much better gold advantage, if they are generating gold much easier and better than Axum, then they are going to be quite good and they deserve a higher ranking. And so this is going to be the kind of investigation we are going to be trying out. And also, their traditions are a little bit better than I thought because they actually scale with specialists, and so the Mississippians should probably score better in terms of future scaling in both traditions as well as in potential. And so with that in mind, I wanted to take a closer look because this is the one of 2 civs that I thought that my evaluation on was probably going to be relatively weak, the other being Han. And so we are going to be taking a look at 3 different potential starts, getting our way off the road or off the ground with them, and then deciding which one we want to continue into a run while playing as Mississippi. Now, Mississippi gets pretty strong advantages in food and gold, and then kind of doesn't have advantages in any of the other yields. I think that this is a significant weakness, but we are going to try and come up with plans for shoring up that weakness and really kind of having a variety of different strategies that play pretty strongly, for the Mississippi. So first up, just kind of all throughout, what we are really going to be comparing the Mississippians to in a lot of spots is going to be Axum. I think currently Axum, or previously before I did the tier list, Axum looked like unambiguously the best gold civilization. I thought you would generally get more gold over time with this +2 gold on resources, and we had an extremely smooth Axum game, which of course is a small sample size, and so we're looking to see if we can have the same type of gold focus run on Mississippi. But with with Axum, we specifically did have a ruler that we played with that I think will actually pair really well with the Mississippians, and so I think we're going to run back our exact start that we used on Axum when we did our Axum playthrough, which is Himiko Queen of Wa. And the reason for this is I'm getting increasingly bullish on city-states, especially in the early age, and especially to cover weaknesses. We have weaknesses in culture and science because we don't produce those yields as the Mississippians, and so we can use those city-states to try to shore those up. Himiko Queen of Wa can support endeavors for free. This will allow us to play nice with other countries while simultaneously conserving our influence for being able to use to suzerain city-states. Beyond that, playing nice will also lean into the Mississippians' advantage in their ability to make trade routes really, really cheaply. If more people are happy with you because you've supported all of their endeavors, then you will be able to gain gold per resource, which is going to be quite useful when establishing trade with them. And so you will have very, very cheap trade routes, and so you will be able to get the ball rolling very quickly with your unique trader unit. And so I think that is pretty good, and I think it's also going to be a good basis of comparison because we played Axum with this, and also it is going to allow you to generate a whole lot of science, and that's going to be useful for covering up your weakness in science, which incidentally I think is at the start of the next age a really good yield to have because you unlock buildings faster, you get shipbuilding faster so you can get the treasure fleets faster, and so I think Himiko Queen of Wa or any science country is going to be a pretty good shout. For this, we are going to go something a bit standard, gold and sapphire flowers and Groma. This is going to allow us to get to size 5 very, very quickly. This is the exact start that we used when playing Axum, and so I did want a little bit of consistency, and also we've been trying to deviate from this with a lot of our playthroughs, and so I think going back to it to just kind of showcase just how strong it is maybe something useful, and we will be demonstrating with one of our, kind of beginning runs today. So the first one is going to be Himiko Queen of Wa with the food. So So next up, we are going to be running back Benjamin Franklin. We did have a Benjamin Franklin run that we had at least started on Kumai, which I actually really liked. Kumai's food advantage paired with Ben Franklin's really sharp advantage in terms of producing production buildings and getting things running very quickly, and also having a reward for building buildings. In the case of Kumai, it was building on rivers that allowed us to generate more food. In the case of the Mississippians will get adjacencies next to resources, a food adjacency, and later a gold adjacency for buildings. And so you can, by being able to produce more buildings quickly and get things running faster, you can get some explosiveness out of Benjamin Franklin. In particular, Benjamin Franklin also has an interesting play pattern in that I don't think the best start with Benjamin Franklin is Groma into gold and sapphire flowers. I think what Benjamin Franklin actually wants to do is going to be going for a scientific attribute point and be going for Dotaku, which will give 50 science when you spend an attribute point. It's very much the same idea, but instead of propelling yourself up to 5 population immediately, you will instead go Scout, not Settler, but Scout, Production Building, Settler, Production Building, Settler, in that you can rush irrigation quite a bit faster on Benjamin Franklin, and while your 3rd settle will be slower, your 4th settle will be faster, and in this way you can catch up while having a better scaling set of mementos in Dotaku, which will scale better than the 100 food if you get the 100 food again, and also the scientific attribute point I think in general scales better than the expansionist attribute point. On top of that, you will be pushing production buildings quickly and be generating science on them, and this will help to sort of curb a bit of a disadvantage you have in that you do not have, you have food and gold in this age, you don't really have science, and so with Benjamin Franklin, with all the ageless science buildings, you again will have that advantage going into exploration age, kind of supporting a bit of a weakness of the Mississippians. We also get +1 science per age from active endeavors you have started or supported, but we don't really have an advantage towards producing influence, so we are going to be on Benjamin Franklin really squeezed on influence. We can have 2 endeavors of the same type active at one time. It's maybe the case that on Benjamin Franklin, we could even go the on-theme Benjamin Franklin bifocals, which would give us more influence after researching a civic or tech mastery, and use our science bonus to try and lean into this. I think that this would be reasonable, but for the sake of wanting something that feels good, that we think is consistent and we've tried before, rather than trying it for the first time, we are going to be running Benjamin Franklin as our 2nd run for the Mississippians here. The final leader we are going to be taking a look at is one that really leans into the trade of the Mississippians, which is going to be Xerxes the Achaemenid, where we get +1 trade route with all of the leaders, which means this is effectively a way in which we will save influence because we will have an additional trade route, and gain 50 culture and 100 gold per age when you create a trade route or a road. This synergizes with our already kind of intent to make more trade route, where we gain 25 gold per resource acquired. So if we take a merchant, we buy one for 100 gold, and then we make a trade route and then get 200 gold back, 100 from the Mississippian ability and 100 from Xerxes, that's a pretty good game. And so this is going to allow us to get way more trade routes earlier, and the trade routes will allow us to improve relations with other civilizations, much like we could with Himiko. And so this will allow us to save on influence and be able to use influence over towards suzeraning city-states, but also the extra trade route limit is something you would otherwise have to play Diplo for. We would not have to play Diplo for it, and we'll get +1 culture and gold on unique buildings and improvements. This improvements being a key kind of feature, because while I think the Pocktop doesn't scale very well, or isn't really the most insane kind of improvement, it is very cheap, and we don't mind building it and then building over it, and the fact that with Xerxes, we will be gaining, additional adjacency on this, where we will be gaining +1 culture and gold on this, makes this much more attractive. And part of our strategy is also suzeraining city-states if we can and building their unique improvements, and to the extent we do that, we will also get rewarded for their improvements. And so Xerxes, I think, is actually quite a strong choice, leaning into Mississippians specifically, rather than trying to take someone who's already strong and just slot them in on Mississippians. I do think that this will kind of serve to highlight some of what's going on with Mississippians. Now, with all that said, we are not locked in on mementos we want to do. I think if the other two starts feel very smooth and very solid, we will try something a bit experimental in that we will go for bifocals and something else, perhaps something focused on trade, but in this way be able to generate a bunch of influence and also find something else we feel that we are looking for, and maybe even bifocals combined with a scientific attribute point. The attribute point will be useful into new ages. It will generate science per city, and this will kind of cover our other weakness in that we will be getting a lot of culture from Xerxes, and then the science can help to, you know, clean up the fact that we don't have that much science, and then the bifocals will give us influence, and we maybe end up having something really balanced where the explosiveness of the Mississippians allows us to kind of compensate for the fact that we are not going an explosive memento set. If we do really poorly, I think in the first two runs that we experiment and we don't think they're very strong, we're going to go back to the tried and true Groma plus gold and sapphire flowers and be able to get as many cities as we can as quickly as possible. Another option is we will be pretty good at upgrading cities to higher upgrading towns to cities. I think in general this is something you want to be doing. I think that this is one of the advantages is you can deliver a lot of cities into the next age, and so I think that it will be reasonable to maybe go Corona Civica and bifocals with the +1 settlement limit per age. It gives more convert city cost, but eventually you just hit the cap and it's really not that big a penalty, especially if you're generating a ton of gold. So I think these are maybe the options for Xerxes, but the Xerxes is going to be a wild card in terms of what we go for in terms of mementos, but these are the kind of pairings and options we're thinking of a little bit. All right, we see a pretty reasonable looking start. We wish we had more resources around, but to be fair, we can have resources in this outer ring right here. We do want to settle on this turn, and in order to settle on this turn, we will have to settle in place here. So we are going to peel off a settlement here and see what this looks like. We are going to expand out and use the expansionist attribute point. This will give 100 food in the capital, and you can see we instantly grow. We will have growth events for several turns, and we will immediately work towards both the cotton as well as over here a little bit by working this tile. We see that we reveal a few more resources. I think if we had zero more resources in our kind of capital limit, we would have restarted, but this is fine enough. In fact, this is a very solid roll. Cotton being the very best resource to be getting early, getting production and food in the capital for us on the second turn. Wine, I think, is also quite strong, although we would prefer more 2/2 slottable resources in an ideal sense. The food is also fairly good early, and this will synergize with what we're trying to do with the Mississippians, where we are trying to build buildings next to resources. Now, we do have the constraint that we do not want to brick too many of these really good resource slots with ageless buildings. So we probably don't want to put a brickyard right here, for example, because we will be wanting to put a science building or a production building here to get the double adjacency, but we will want to focus those buildings in particular. We'll go for a scout and an ending of the turn, and since the food overflows and 100 is way more than enough to get another growth event, we will pick that up there. And so now you can see it's turn 2 and we're getting 9 and 8 on our yields. Very strong, and this is the explosiveness of the food bloom that is so strong and that we actually haven't played with for some time. We'll take a close look at our map. We see that we do have, you know, kind of a clay pit. We will be working a quarry. We'll be working another quarry. I think that we generally want to go with pottery in that regard, where we will get +1 production on clay pits, +1 food on plantations, and the brickyard in particular is going to look good for us. We're actually going to be having 2 quarries, right, which will be getting +1 production, and 2 plantations, which will be getting +1 food. So immediate yields off of this. Now with the Ben Franklin start, we'll see that what we would get in exchange for this is very fast pottery in exchange for not having as fast on the other kind of aspect. We will go for a scout here, and we will take a little bit of a look around, seeing what we can see, scouting around and trying to see what our strategy is going to look like. We do want to find other people as quickly as possible because we can accept their endeavors for free. Now we do have a little bit of a choice. We can either go for the wine or the slottable resource. I think we're supposed to go for the slottable resource here, and we also very notably can get that slottable resource right now by bricking our own tile here. If we do this and we pull this at the top, we will do that. We will cancel there. This gets converted to an urban district, and we get refunded our growth here. We know that we want to grab this. We will put down on the food. That will be a 3 food tile. It'll also be a quarry that will get 1 additional production off of the Cowlin. And then also, taking a look in here, it's now slotted in, and we are getting 15 food a turn. And so we have another growth event in 2 turns. So we will actually be able to build a settler before we finish our second scout. This is absolutely incredible. We know we're going to take 2 movements and we're going to be moving over here. And so because we know that, we're going to also take a look around, and that is very nice for us to be seeing, wow, 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 really good resources around us here. The gypsum's going to be very good, and it's going to be very good once we get our second city. We also see double cotton being the most important and valuable resource early on, and we're going to see a couple of goody huts too for ourselves. So we're going to be picking up this goody hut, and that is a high roll. Now, we could go for the culture. But if we kick higher artisans, we will be 1 turn earlier on working on our settler, and we will also be overflowing onto the settler. Now, what I mean by that is we have more than enough production to complete, but any unused production will roll over into the next turn, and since we already have additional production, we don't want to start something else. We don't want to start working something else, because that will utilize our production towards that. Instead, we can click Shift-Enter, force the end of the next turn, grow to size 5, and then we will have a settler, but that settler will be produced in 5 turns instead of 6 turns, and we will be able to peel off another tile. I do think that it is maybe worthwhile to grab this into this. The 2 wine in the capital and 10% celebration might be a little bit slower, and I think we'll get things done slightly faster this way, but I definitely could be wrong in this regard. But we will be getting additional kind of food here. It'll help us to grow faster, and then once we work this, we will have additional production from here, the clay pit, and also here, the quarry. If I'm not mistaken, it's clay pit and quarry. It gave additional production. Oh no, just the clay pits, but still the additional production here. We will work our way down 1 tile at a time. Oh my god, it's another cotton, and we see here we will have 1 movement. So generally, I'm actually considering re-rolling this because I try not to have like god tier starts / runs, because I think it's a serious confound and it's not useful to other people in terms of the viewers, in terms of what's going on, because if something's just too explosive, it's not necessarily replicable. But because we're trying to show how strong the Mississippians are, I think we're going to take this high roll. This might be one under normal conditions we would just re-roll, but this is insane, having a triple cotton here as well as the gold. And so let's just check a settlement lens to see if they are settlable. We do see we can settle over here. It's not being bricked by a city-state. That is absolutely insane. So this is going to be really good. We are going to settle there basically immediately, and this is going to be probably one of the most explosive starts we've had in some time. Now, when you're getting the gold, you can kind of ask yourself, well, what can I do with the gold? I think in general, gold is kind of worth roughly 1/3 of the value of culture in kind of the early periods. So you have to have something really specific in mind in terms of buying the gold. We don't have anything specific in mind, but this is just like kind of an insane type of start. Again, here, we are just going to move once because we'll have 2 movement next turn, and this will end our movement. So we will take a look around and be able to meet Hatshepsut, who is going to take that goody hut. That is a bit of an unfortunate situation, and I think we have a little bit of a decision here. We are going to go with friendly greeting, despite the fact that we want to save up influence, because we want to generally play nice with people, and we think we have a decent chance of doing that with Hatshepsut. We want to get agreements with her. We want her to send one, and we hope she sends one to us. She is going to pick up the goody hut, unfortunately, and we know that the scout is down here in terms of the goody huts. We could scout down there knowing we sent this other scout up, which is maybe a little bit of a problem, or we could send our own scout up and send this one more to the left. I think we'll go for the left, and also send the scout up instead, because we want to secure goody huts, and maybe there's a good kind of settle over here or something like that to think about, as well as other resources in the north. And so we will backtrack a little bit just so we have goody hut potential. We don't like seeing the scout there though, because that's going to mean we're going to have a little bit of trouble. We are going to go for this, and this is going to give us the ability to Sorry. This is going to give us the ability to now pick what we are going to be researching. We will go for mysticism first. The altar is one of the strongest buildings in the game, in this age at least, and then we will be able to accept for freezies, good dealsies. This is why we're playing Himiko, and this is something where if you normally wanted to go for suzerains, you would not be able to lean into this as an advantage, so that's going to be quite nice for us. We will scout up either way, and wow. The gifts that keep on giving. As a testament to the explosiveness of the start, we don't have any advantages in production or producing settlers that are inherent to us. We don't have any advantages to food. We're size 5. We're going to be size 6 before the deity juice yields Hatshepsut is size 4, and we already have our first settler. We're going to come on over here, and we are going to try and deny the camels / secure the camels, depending on your perspective. The camels, the gold, and the triple cotton will all be ours. Now, we will have the kind of thing that we will be building on here, and so we'll be denying ourselves a 2 adjacency tile for our bonuses. I think. I'm not sure if the city center actually counts the adjacencies, but we can also just build a library on top of our city center as well to be able to make use of that, or a monument, or this type of thing, and we will immediately start producing another settler. We're going to go settler, but then just per kind of thinking of the Ben Franklin start we're going to be trying out soon, we're super far off irrigation, so we're going to have 3 cities very quickly, but then we won't have the 4th. We're just keeping on scouting around. I think that we want to stay ahead of this guy and go for this goody hut, so we will do that. We see a friendly city-state that's really going to be good for us, and we are just trying to kind of scout near us. We think that we're going to be crossing this river here, so we're going to go 1, and then we're going to look around, and then next turn we can come and cross this river, or we could cross the river here. We might not end up crossing the river after taking a little bit of a peek. We'll cancel that movement, but we will have this guy coming on over, and we will very aggressively, if we have the gold, buy a tile if we can to be able to get to the camels as quickly as possible. That's going to be the goal. We're not going to grab the cotton. We want to secure the camels as best we can. The camels will be fantastic. There's a good chance that she grabs tiles next to the camels, and so this is going to be something we want to emphasize, especially because we want to transition into either Abbasid or Hawaii next stage as a point of trying them out, and Abbasid requires you get 3 camels, if I'm not mistaken. You will again be able to accept her endeavors for freezies, good dealsies, and in doing so, we're getting really good relationship with Hatshepsut, supporting the other endeavors that we are still also stockpiling influence into doing. So, taking a look at the yields here, we see that, yes, we are getting the adjacency bonus, specifically on our city center building. That is the bonus of getting +1 food, adjacency for resources, all buildings. That does in fact include the city center. So when it comes time for us to, go into our Mississippian civics and to go for our +1 gold adjacency for resources, all buildings receive this. It will work on the city centers, and it will work on this Chickasaw right here. So straight after mysticism here, we are going to beeline not the POC top, but this will be very nice to have +10% production towards constructing buildings, but we're also going to be going for all buildings receive a gold adjacency for resources. I think that'll be quite strong. We're working on our first building here. We went for a brickyard. We get a celebration, and with that celebration, +10% culture, we're excited to be getting another wine resource and another camels resource, so we've sent our second settler up here. I think that we're going to be going for the 10% or 20% culture, and then we will be slotting in culture on the palace. I think the gold is not quite worth it, but it might be worth it after we get our 4th settlement, and we will get to choose a pantheon. We can go for city patron goddess or god of the sun. I think both of these are reasonable. I think that we're getting a good amount of food, and that we're going to be working a bunch of tiles, and so we can either go for the culture and science, or think of this as a culture science bonus, or think of it as we are going to get the influence. I think the influence is a little bit more valuable, especially with what we want to do with our strategy, so we will go for the additional influence per turn, and that will likely be a building that we build here pretty soon, and we can build it over the brickyard, or we can, in order to get the bonus, the quarter bonus adjacent to the capital for +1 science, +1 culture, that might just be the most convenient way to approach this. We have enough gold here to be able to go for buying a unit, so we're not too worried about settling in here somewhere. I do think I like this as the settlement spot because there may be something that we can't quite get to, or actually this gets to the marble as well. This gets to the marble and the horses, but we get minus some happiness. Is there some sort of resource here that we could get here? Taking a look, we're thinking of if we settle here, we won't be able to get the incense. If we settle here, we won't be able to get the marble or this. If we settle right here, we will get the camels, we will miss out on the incense, and it's very unlikely we will have a way to get the incense later, but we will get all of the marble here, the camels and wine, the horses, and also the sheep. And the sheep are kind of the key one here that we want in this early game. I think we're going to settle right here, barring some discovery, and we start to kind of clear out the... Why do we not have sight? It's because the ocean. We start to clear out some of the vision down here. I think we're going to loop around here. We do see a navigable river, but there's almost certainly a really good settle down here that is going to make use of the gypsum and the wine, and so we will likely be kind of beelining irrigation, I think, to be getting that third additional settle out. We could be going for either writing or masonry. Masonry does give production on mines and quarries, so masonry is probably a good shout. I don't think we want to go for writing, though. We already have a couple of buildings that we want to be building in the altar and also the brickyard, and soon to be the sawmill as well. So we do have a bit of an inflection point here where I'm uncertain what the correct choice is. I think we do want to try and play nice with Himiko, because if we play nice, we can keep getting agreements. So we're actually going to cancel Hatshepsut's action, which is going to be a hefty influence cost, but we're hoping that she, you know, forgets about what we did settling right next to her, and we won't settle near her again, and if she sends us a couple more endeavors, we'll be able to accept those endeavors and continue being happy with her. I don't think we're going to ally with anyone, but we will instead be able to... We'll get back on this river here and sail up it. We won't ally with anyone, but we'll instead look to just maximize endeavors. We also decided to settle a little bit up because this is the way in which we can get the silk here as well. I think silk is a little bit better than... Well, I think the marble's probably better than the silk, but I wanted to settle on freshwater. And there's a chance that there's something back here that is a good, whereas the other things are just not going to be good. Now, I think we're going to go for this immediately, working our way over here. We would like some food here if possible, but we'll be able to get a little bit of extra food very easily by building buildings next to the various resources as we work our way up to the 2 happiness, 2 production resource here. We have some gold. I think we have to spend it on a unit. We're not going to wait, and we will buy one of our unique units and look to try and make sure we are nice and defensive against this city-state. We won't kind of take them out because we want them for some of our scaling advantages, but we will look to kind of peel back some of the forces and make sure that they don't get too scary. I think as we come to this brickyard here that we're running away from this guy, out of the frying pan into the fire, that one. This is going to be a good first Sue's target, though, once we get up to 170, but I think this scout might be squished, even. It's a little bit unlucky. In theory, you can check the settlement tab, and so we could have been trying to track where exactly a city-state is based on this, so with perfect play, that probably doesn't happen. But I think what we're going to go for is we have a little bit of a tough decision in that we can go for a saw pit or we can go for an altar here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go for an altar, but we're going to go for an altar that's right here, double resource adjacency, so this will get 2 food on this. This altar will eventually get built over, and so that'll be fine, but we are going to make it so that we will have kind of 3 good 2 adjacency things, and we are in some sense breaking them. Actually, maybe we don't want to do that. So we could go here, which isn't as good in the short term. I think that just building over this, we would prefer to have our saw pit there eventually. And so it is a little bit of a rough type of situation, but the saw pit's no good for us. I think we're going to go here. We're going to we're going to break this food tile. That'll work out. That'll be perfect. And then with the additional we will pick up the marble. That's actually much better. I think I like that. And we will get 1 adjacency here to the Cowlin, which will be good for us. And then we will cry, because we're about to lose a scout here. Maybe we could look up even. We're just going to peel off a turn with this and see if someone comes into vision. And then this scout is going to be lost for good. Goodbye, sweet prince. Just kidding. Skill game. Never worried. We knew we would get away. And we are so smart and so handsome. Alright, we kind of greeted with the grabbing of the camels, but I did want to lock in some of these tiles. This tile is not under threat. This tile is not under threat, meaning Hatshepsut's we're not worried about her taking that tile in an immediate future, and so now we're going to start scooping up the cotton. The cotton being an unbelievable resource. I think what we're going to do is we're going to actually leave the cotton in Chickasaw, and we're going to move one of these cottons back, and the reason being, these don't have a lot of food. These will help them to grow a lot faster, and then once we get buildings down in these places and get the adjacencies, then we will be cranking up, and also, we are starting to get a lot of food in Cahokia anyways, and while we would like the production there to be able to build stuff faster rather than having the production kind of out and about. If we had the dates, we'd prefer to slot the dates into the towns. I do think getting the towns up faster is going to be nice, and the food is going to start falling off pretty soon here in Cahokia. We do have one more turn to a growth, and we have also met Jose Raul. I think we know that we're not going to find a goodie hut next to him, so we won't use the look around function to try and search for one. We do see a city that is in danger of getting kind of snapping up some of our tiles here, so we will make sure to be working that. We have a little bit of a run-in with the barbs, nothing too big a deal. That's why we bought the archer, really just kind of smooth things out rather than having him whack the city. But now as this grows, I think we have one grow. You can see 23 turns to growth, and this is kind of, we are starting to fall off in food here in Cahokia because we have 23 turns to grow with 18 food. That's quite a bit of food, but this is a hustling, bustling city. We do have all the resource tiles that are in our city limits are currently worked, and so now we are just going to be trying to work the most effective tiles, like the 2-2 tile here, which is going to be, on the clay pit, and so it'll still be pretty good. Even beyond that, we are going to have a lot of turns to grow, but we will still grow maybe 3 to 4 more times this age. And as we build more buildings, we'll get a little bit more food, but we will be able to turn our attention more towards Chickasaw and Missouri, but that is why we have transferred the resources over, even though we really prefer to have, production in a city, and we prefer to just have raw food and nothing else, something like a fish resource. We're making do with what we have here. All right, so we get to the point where we can buy a singular building here. I think when we're going to buy the saw pit, this is a camp. We will be working a woodcutter here, and the idea is that we want to brick this tile and generate additional food here in Chickasaw using our Mississippian advantage. And so when we build this saw pit here, it's going to be adjacent to 2 resources, and so we will be gaining +2 food here, which is going to be great. And we have a ton of +2 food tiles, 2 resource adjacency tiles in Chickasaw here. Really just an enormous amount. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is 5, and then also 6. And so we are not going to be starved for good spots to put libraries and production buildings, and so we don't mind building over this, and it will also just generate us additional gold here immediately as we build over that, and we will be affecting this tile here. I think that we will want to go down towards the gold relatively soon, but it's just too much to pass up on cotton. Cotton's just so strong. And I think that we might end up buying another building over here, whether it is a granary or another production building, or even an altar, although the altar is a little bit more expensive. But we will be getting some growth in Chickasaw. Maybe we work down towards this, because the tile's in between, or this is a better tile to be working in the immediate future, and then build a building here, something like this. Again, we don't really mind about bricking some of these because we have so many options, whereas over here, not a lot of 2 resource adjacent options. In fact, I think I see just 2, just these 2 here, so we would really not want to put an ageless building here, because that would, in future ages, brick our ability to have really good specialist tiles. Well, we tried to be friends with Hatshepsut. She's having none of it, and we can't cancel twice in a row, and so she will denounce denounce us. But other people are giving us nice, good, juicy agreements that we can accept for free, and that acceptance is helping us in other spheres. It's unfortunate we didn't roll a little bit better in terms of, you know, people that are going to send us a ton of science and culture. That's what we really want early on. But more than happy to have, you know, the 2 agreements with Xerxes here, open market military aid, and also Jose Rizal hasn't sent us a single one yet, and Hatshepsut is sending us nothing but shade. But we did get that agreement with her for culture a little bit earlier. So we unlock irrigation, and with it, another settlement limit. Also notably, Earthworks 2 does have our settlement limit, so we are getting that relatively early, so we're going to have +2 settlement limit. We have to make some decisions about where we are going to put down our cities, though. I think that this is a pretty good shout. It does overlap considerably with Cahokia. The point is we would get the marble, the silver, and the dates, and the gypsum here. The horses are already going to be secured by Chickasaw, but also we don't have to brick this city-state in order to do it, and there's not exactly super good resources on the other side of this anyways. We're already locking in the silk, and so if we were to settle something like right here, I suppose we could do a little bit better, because we could also hit this gypsum and also this silk. And maybe that's something we want to think about, in which case we could settle kind of over here a little bit more. This would have the kaolin, the salt, eventually getting on over to these resources over here. But I think the initial start would maybe be a little bit rough. That is certainly a decent recommendation by the AI. Here's kind of where we want to settle. The problem is all these troops coming up. That's just too much friction, and that is going to be our following settle. We bought an archer, we have an archer coming down, and they're going to clear that out. And so we do have this here, but we also have this here. This is a reasonable sort of spot as well for kind of similar reasons, but we would have access to these good resource tiles immediately, and then a very long term we would get the salt, which would be good. But over the short term, the kaolin is fine. The fish is going to be pretty good, except for getting to it's probably not worth it, not worth working this fishing boat. We'll have a little bit of a think, but we will go for one of those 3 settles, knowing that the very next thing that we have coming up is going to be another settler. We are going to look to push it because we currently have 1 additional settlement limit, but we have 1 coming up in 7 turns. By the time the settler's in place, the second settler, it will be time to settle. And so we are going to be looking to be entering in on turn 40 here with 5 settlements is kind of the dream goal here. So we are going to go for priesthood plus 2 gold in all settlements. That's 8 gold. I think 8 gold is going to be better than 1 production and 1, well, it's going to be kind of on par with 1 production, 1 science, probably a little bit better. And then all buildings receive 1 gold adjacency for resources. We have currently, in terms of those, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we don't have a resource adjacency, so we have 6 of those, so plus 1 on each of those, that'll be an additional 6 gold, and so we are getting a decent chunk of gold here, for all of these together. I think it's around 14, off to a pretty good start. We're on turn 38, and we are making the resources. We will also get the Call of the Mountain, big nice, and we will have the town specialization available, and kind of this convert to city mark of 350 with 12 growth away. So it's going to be a while till we have another growth event, and so we will probably want to convert to city as our next gold expenditure choice. We do have an opportunity to grow and expand this. I think that if there are any more... It doesn't look like... Okay, we have a clay pit this way, and so maybe we work our way over to the clay pit, working mines as best we can, or we could go for the immediate better tiles right now. I think we'll work our way over... Well, the problem is we'll have to work farms in order to do that. Maybe we just go with kind of the sawmill working, and we go and work right here because we know we will want to break this tile at some point, and so we will be able to refund this worker relatively early. We see that we can grab the cotton here. We will do that now. We will make sure that it's, of course, slot in now in the capital. Just beautiful. We have 6 +2/+2 resources to start here. So I do think this is relatively a high roll as far as we've gotten so far. We are going to go towards Code of Laws so that we can make trade routes and then do the Code of Laws mastery so we can do espionage. We do get a nice little culture thing, so we have a little bit less of a choice to make. I think that we want to go and kind of focus on culture a little bit here. We have another narrative choice, a 15 in the Silk Road's legacy path. This is definitely one that we can make use of. One burning arrow in Cahokia is not going to be worth the trade-off. And then in the capital, Cahokia, we have now produced all that we want to produce in terms of the settlers. So I think we're going to take the time and look at how much yields we're going to be actually getting here. So this feels quite nice. We're getting 1 science and 1 culture for completing the quarter. We're getting a 2 production for the actual building itself, 1 for food for the adjacency here, although the food at this point is not that useful, but the gold is useful, the gold for the adjacency, and this will allow us to build other stuff here. And we have yet another one of these. I think that, well, here we maybe have a little bit of a choice in that we can upgrade to city this turn with the 200 gold. I think that we're going to go with the culture because I think overall we value the culture a lot more, but that is quite tempting. We was very tempted to do it, but we will kind of not do that just quite yet, although we could have had a city super early. Our bow unit is able to kind of, I think, maintain defense here. We're going to choose the influence and then regret it later. That's our plan here. We are going to choose the influence. The more you kind of, with some of these narrative events, it is very hard to Golden Age unless we do end up going for the, not this, but over here in the civics tree, unless we end up going for literacy and get the Nalanda ourselves, which is harder to do with Hatshepsut in game. We run the risk of not being able to go for the codexes, and so we do have to kind of be a little bit careful, but I think we'll be fine. We're going to start trying to walk down as best we can, and shoot as well. We do have the settler here, but we are hoping to get the settler in place to right down here so that they can work the wines and the other tiles. I think right here is best where we're going for, because we will get 2 gypsum, we will get a jade, we will get this, and we will also get the wine, which will be fantastic. So we have, coming in, we wanted to do a turn 40 trial for each of these starts, and we have just kind of the perfect timing here where we are going to be settling our 5th city on turn 40. We are on standard speed, and I think this is a very strong benchmark. I think we're not even going to work this just yet. Well, actually, we're currently fighting up there. We did need to spend money on a warrior, and things are getting a little bit dicey, but I'm pretty sure we get to hold on to everything. I guess if people want to vote for this run, we will get a good look and see. But taking a look here, the 2 food is actually also going to be very nice for growth, and since we settled here, we are getting a +1 food and then +1 gold on our tile, because the city center is of course adjacent to a resource. But coming in here, we will get the food, we will grow a little bit faster, and then we'll be able to go for gypsum into wine. I think that'll play pretty well. We will be able to brick the food tile later, and this is definitely going to be our plan, especially because this will bring us closer to a 2 resource adjacency that we will want to work alongside this 2 resource adjacency, this 2 resource adjacency, really a lot. But we do want to also make sure we lock in this gypsum before these guys expand on over it. I do think that that is important. But this is what we've managed to get done in terms of starting out with, you know, Himiko. We have relatively good relations with other people because we are, you know, doing a few of these diplomatic agreements, these endeavors. We are accepting these from other people, and so this is going to be good for us. We do have Hatshepsut breathing down our throat a little bit, but we've also, like, the key thing here is we've managed to settle 5 cities, but I don't think that this is really too much off the back of the advantage of the Mississippians. They have allowed us to grow a little bit faster, and we have a little bit more production because we are getting tiles faster and this type of thing, but we are starting to hit a little bit of sludge in terms of how quickly we're expanding on this front, and we haven't really leveraged the gold yet. We are just starting to get into the gold leveraging advantage. In fact, we're sitting on 200 gold right now rather than having used it, but we are sousing someone, so we have this in terms of bringing up our culture, and we have coming on in in very soon, we are planning on building this into a city. I think will be our next expenditure. We could start buying pocktops in key places, but I don't think it's going to quite work out. But I do think that this is a fairly strong showing. This feels pretty good. I think there's a pretty significant confound because this is just an insane roll in terms of the resources that we've gotten. We've gotten 6 of the 2-2 resources, and so maybe we should have picked a different start that didn't like have this chicksaw thing, but we're about to get crimped here, I think, a little bit because we maybe don't have good settlement spots. It depends on what's down here. We maybe have 1 settlement here and 1 settlement here, and then we are maybe out of luck. Hatshepsut took the settle down here. Maybe we have to fight this type of thing, but we are still going to do the other 2 starts, and so if you enjoyed this start and want to see this one continued, please comment down below and or upvote comments for people asking for us to continue here as Himiko. Whatever seems to get the most feedback in terms of people wanting us to continue will be the one that we continue the run as the Mississippians on, and so feel free to put that down below. But it's time to take a look at Big Ben Franklin. So we re-rolled a couple times here in order to get this start because I kind of wanted to have something that felt at least a little bit close to how explosive that other start with Himiko was. And we do have 2 2-2 resources here with Ben Franklin. We don't have the food on them, but luckily we are playing a food-oriented civ. I think we're just going to settle in place. There's not a movement we can make. I mean, we can move over here, but then we move further away from the sheep, and we kind of want to grab the sheep earlier. We would still have all these tiles in tow, and we wouldn't be able to get adjacent. We could come here, get adjacent, get an extra food, not have to mess around with the farm tile and then breaking the farm tile, but I think we're going to settle in place here and peel off a little bit of production to go for a scout, and then we will start our science bloom. When we click this, we will get 50 science towards whatever we're currently researching, and so instead of 10 turns or what have you, this will be 9 turns. I think that what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up coming through here and going for the sheep, and so I think that we're going to end up working a lot of saw pit tiles, and we have here food on pastures. We're going to end up working pastures and camps relatively early, so we're going to go for animal husbandry here as our opener instead, and begin to scout out looking for some stuff to do. We maybe should have gone just straight up for that, but we do see a goody hut down there, which is going to be fantastic for us. We will get started on our second scout, and you notice we're not size 3 on turn 2. Oh no. But the hope is that with our 2 production buildings, we will hit a different type of spike, and we will scale better into the age overall. Well, that's kind of annoying that he takes our things, so we'll come down here. We'll take a little bit of a look around. Nice that we have a friendly guy right next to us, though. And it's looking like we're going to have a couple of things to grab. We will come in here. We will grab this 2 food tile, which will be great for us to help grow a little bit faster, especially on the first few turns. The food is really, really, really valuable. And then as time goes on, we will break this tile. We'll go for the science here, and we will get a very explosive kind of start here. The goal is to go on to relatively early irrigation and just kind of bink a bunch of settlers out. We'll probably need to build 2 production buildings until we have 5 population, but then we'll go just chaining settlers entirely here. We'll do these one at a time. We do see very nice that we get a cultural oriented civ, so we're probably going to be pretty aggressive about banking this, and so next turn we'll move 1 up, and then since we will stop our movement on the subsequent turn here, we will take a little bit of a look around. Nice to get a natural wonder here too, but we will take the look around and we will see there's a bunch of goody huts all throughout, so maybe we circle this guy, and then with the other scout, we come down in this direction, something like that. We hit turn 3, so that's going to be off on our way, and we will get these sheep. And so now on turn 7, we are about where we were at on turn 2 in terms of just raw yields on the previous run. But this is all fair enough. We should, of course, question sacred doctrines, and we will grab the influence, I think. The influence is really hard to come by. We do want to start suzeraning kind of as quickly as we can. I think we're going to come around for doing that. And we are also going to turn on yields here so we could just take a look at things. When we brick this tile eventually, we will get additional food on the thing we are looking for. And so now we have a little bit of a choice. We can brick this tile now, or we can wait for a few turns. turns and work this tile. I think we would rather have the food. And what I mean by all this is when you don't spend your production, you just store it up. We are 4 turns to producing a saw pit, so it's not like we would get the saw pit earlier anyways. Oh, we would get it 1 turn earlier. Okay, in that case, I think we're going to drop the saw pit right here. This will brick the tile that we have here, and the problem here is that until the saw pit's finished, we actually can't work this tile, which is the one that we would have wanted to work. This is a little bit unfortunate, but we do get 1 turn faster on finishing this, because otherwise we would still need 1 turn to complete. It was 4 turns, we grew in 4 turns, and so we would need to wait 4 turns, grow, and then on the 5th turn, we would be completing the saw pit. So that's not exactly what we want. We could go for this food, which again would be pretty good early on, and then we eventually do want to come on over for that. Or we could just work this mine knowing that it's going to be good relatively early. We don't have the brickyard here, which is a little bit unfortunate, but then we can get the incense into this, and then we will eventually build over this mine, or we know that we will want to. Incidentally, nice that we have another good spot with a double adjacency. We're going to have a lot of really good buildings down here. I think we're going to go for the mine and 100 gold. That seems fine enough. This guy's getting a loop that is a lot bigger than we had hoped for. Okay, he's starting to get into the swing of things, and so hopefully we get a good amount of these. We're just going to cross the river, and then next kind of movement, we were looking for being able to look around so that we could see any sort of goodie huts. Maybe we head on down for that goodie hut. Just look to kind of come down the river onto the cotton. Very nice to also see the cotton here in kind of the initial salvo of this scouting around and settling. It will be pretty good for us. Oh man, there's so many good resources around here. The camels, a bunch of gypsum, wine. I think that we go for the production here so that we can get double production building and just really slingshot out the initial settlers kind of quickly here. So we get the production building finished. We see that someone nabs the goodie hut. So the next goodie hut over is very likely to get nabbed, but we're going to still try and make it on over. We find Caesar, and I think the presence of this makes us want to just neutral greet Caesar. If he sends us an agreement or some sort of missive, I think we'll say yes. Otherwise, we might try and send him a science one. It is nice to see the additional cotton here. We'll bring this on over, and now we can get started on irrigation. So we are not yet, size 5, but we're about to be. And I think that we will just kind of peel off another turn here. So we get our growth here, which means we can break another tile. We're going to go for the incense, yes, but the goal is, of course, the sheep. But what we will be able to do is we will be able to put a granary here. We will put it at the front of the queue, and then with it at the front of the queue, we will cancel it. And so with this done, does lock in the granary? No, it did not. Okay, perfect. So with the granary not locked in on a particular tile, we don't have to work the granary. We might not build a granary, but the entire point here is we evicted them from working this tile so that we could work the marvelous sheep tile, which will give us more yields in the aggregate and also give us that very critical sheep resource. So now, and also incidentally, the science plays pretty nice with Ben Franklin actually generating science in cities, and so we will be having a total of +4 production and happiness, from this over here, and we will be able to get started on our settler. Just 3 turns of production, so we are several turns behind the food bloom start in terms of getting things started, but what we will get is we will get a really fast production on this one, faster than the food bloom start, and then a little bit slower on the subsequent one, because we don't, or same speed rough-ish on this, because we don't have this training settlers, but we have more production instead. And so hopefully we can kind of maintain the same sort of speed that we had on the other one as we go for these goodie huts and try and produce the settler. I'm thinking that the settle is, just right here, which will be able to nab all the resources. I think we go for the culture because we have plenty of science, and we do want to get, in a timely fashion, mysticism, because we are really hoping to get the influence yet again in terms of what we have going on. So we will go for the culture here, and then we will spit out our first settler, and then we will start going for the next settler. We're just going to go 3 settlers in a row. So 6 turns, settler, and then before we even finish irrigation, we find Confucius here. I think we're going to neutral greet him. We did mess up. Last turn we should have started the Sioux, but we are going to start a Sioux on these guys. Moche, incidentally, is in such a good spot. I think we integrate them. They are critically hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 resources that would not otherwise be hit, and with that amount, even though it's good to roll the Suzes over into the next stage, I think we are going to go for the integration at some point in time. So we have a little bit of a decision point here. We've grabbed the goodie hut. I think we just keep on heading on out. Oh, just kidding. 7 resources, including 1 cotton with moche. So I think that we almost certainly do want to integrate them. We will go for the culture again, trying to get a bit of a faster mysticism. Are a little bit slow on the kind of relative to the explosiveness. Like if we don't see anyone else's cities, so it's hard to compare here. But just taking a look in terms of if they have additional cities. Everyone's still on 1 city, so we're not super far behind, but we're definitely behind the other start that we had going on here. But we're looking to find kind of our next settle spot. I think it might be down here, which is why we were tempted to backtrack with this scout. I think we actually do backtrack here, just for the sake of finding where the next settle is. I think is critically important. And so we could go for the gold so that we could just straight up buy a production building. I think that this is kind of attractive a little bit here, because 220 is what you need. But at the same time, well, we're celebrating right now. Maybe we go for this, and the production building, just in the immediate kind of sense, is going to be quite useful. But maybe we even go granary. The reason for going granary here is that we have a bonus to the production buildings. So maybe not building that, and the granary is not going to get much better than it is going to get here in terms of growing us. That's like an additional 40% more food, so we will get these growth events much faster. You can see 2 turns, and so we'll get on the elephants faster. We'll get up quite a bit faster, and maybe that's overkill because we already have a food advantage per our civ. We're going to take a little bit of a look around here. And so, okay, it does look like we have some sort of little island outcropping here that is probably going to be a reasonable settle. We will be looking around, so maybe that's our 3rd settle. But things are coming together on this run. I think that we want to get the gold. I think that Confucius is maybe threatening his ability to take it. We did make a bit of a mistake there. We should have moved 1 movement rather than that and looked around, which would have been a little bit better than how we executed there. But we will start working our way over to this. Is this a Nav River tile? Unfortunately it is, so we're going to have to build something creative here in order to brick this and then move on over here and then grab this, or we could just work production tiles that are reasonable. It is a little bit of a conundrum. I think that the food is decent right now, though. It's not spectacular, but we still have a relatively low pop, 6 turns to grow. That's a pretty good rate, and we are going to be able to hopefully make something with that. That's great. That's good. We do see kind of the good resources. We get this settle. It doesn't piss off Moche. It is going to be an absolutely monstrous thing, and I think that we just work the wonder here. I think that's just the play here. Securing the resources would be good, but working the wonder just is going to really explode the population of here, and also going to generate us quite a bit of gold. We will choose the culture because we do want to get a decent option, and we see that we have rolled pretty well here in terms of what we could roll over here, I suppose. I think we maybe settle here, and then we'll have... Or we settle wherever there's fresh water and is kind of hitting some of these resources. I guess we'll take a closer look around, but that will be our following settle after this one down here. And we get this, and we also get a critical kind of decision point in what is our Pantheon potential. Yes, we get City Patron Goddess potential. That is really good. We meet the last civ. It is going to be Pachacuti. So I think we did kind of okay on the meetings. I think we'll do a friendly greeting with him because we've already sent out our suzerain that we really wanted to get out in a somewhat timely fashion in Moche. And we will see what support these guys are going for. Oh no. Gold per turn's not too bad. To be fair, we don't have a lot of towns. Weren't necessarily expecting that. Yeah, we don't have a lot of towns and we have a lot of bonuses. I think we're still going to go Earthworks and the Mastery here. But it would maybe be considering going straight for Code of Laws. With Xerxes, we probably go for earlier Code of Laws. Instead of Xerxes and the Mastery, we probably go Discipline, Code of Laws, Mastery down here, something like that. But maybe that's not exactly what we're looking for. I think we will take a little bit of a movement, and we will take a little bit of a scout around, just to try and reveal resources, see if there is anything down to the south that's worth grabbing. If there is, though, this is going to be the tile to settle on. It minimizes kind of bad tiles that we have to work. It is also between 2 resources and adjacent to a 2 resource tile, so it will get 2 food on its initial settle, and so I think that'll be pretty good. It'll also be right next to Cahokia, and so we will probably be wanting to scout down in the south now as we scout down a little bit this way here, looking for more goody huts, but I think the goody hut kind of train is coming to a close. Another triple cotton city. So the settlement of Jinyang is a bit unfortunate in that it is going to deny us an iron here, and we are maybe going to get other resources denied because now we have to contend with the growth of 2 cities, but we are going to be settling in just a second here. I think we're going to go for just working all these wonder tiles. I mean, it's... Actually, let's send the gypsum back. Let's send the gypsum back for the extra production in the capital here. I think that that'll be nice, and then we will be wanting to put the food in on the new towns. I think we're going to settle here, and then we will have a little bit of a choice in terms of how we spend our gold when we get our next gold spend, but for now, we're kind of far from that. We can lock in this tile here if we just go for the food, and the food will be kind of okay, and I think what we are thinking of is that in 5 turns here, we can buy a production building, and we can buy the production building right here and brick this current tile, but we will get more close to securing the gold in the event that his city center is right here. Because if his city center is right here, then he can still grab the gold, and that is going to be a situation we want to avoid. It is going to mean delaying our ability to get some of these cotton, but we are just going to kind of forward push here, and now he will get a big upset at us. That's a big Madge, probably looking to denounce us, but he sends us this. We're actually going to support this. We would love to have a little bit better relationship with him, and also we don't see any other city-states. And this guy denounces us. That's not what we are expecting. I think we'll keep our resources. That is a bit unfortunate. We don't exactly want to rumble with him. Opone is on the map too, though, so we will keep an eye out for them. But hopefully with our altar here, we can go for things. Now, we have a little bit of a choice here. In that, how many turns do we think we have to this? I think it is going to be a little bit more than we'll have this guy come in. I think the amount of turns we're going to have is going to be maybe just slightly off from us being able to push for kind of immediate... What we're thinking right now is just going settler again. And I think we take a little bit of time off to go altar. Oh, we can't push altar over there. Ah, because we have this tile. That's right. That is a bit tricky. Well, we have more 2 adjacency tiles, so we're going to push the altar here. It is going to give us a little bit more food than normal, and then the next thing, we'll probably build our monument right here to brick this food tile so that we can pick up the ivory, and then we will have everything kind of worked where we want and be able to, a little bit earlier than normal, push specialists, I think, which will help us to kind of offset the disadvantages we have in science and culture. So this scout, we will probably have heal up. And the other scout we have coming over here, I think that our next settle is probably going to be in this region, or down here. We do see the cotton and the silver. Those are going to be... Oh, no. Moche's got those covered. We do want to integrate Moche. So our next settle might be either up here or down here. Somehow this ruin didn't get picked up. We'll actually make a little bit of an audible here, and we'll do this and some of this in order to try and find our next sort of settlement. But we're trailing in civics. We're coming up on turn 28, and we aren't really that far behind the Bloom start with this kind of start with Ben Franklin here. At least it doesn't feel behind, and we're even ahead. I think we're ahead of what we ended up finishing in the research on the other start just right now. So that is a pretty significant difference. And if we're about to produce another settler, we won't even be behind. We'll be on par. So this is actually looking really good for Big Ben here, although we do have the natural wonder. That's part of what's going on, but that's just making Choctaw grow bigger. Really, this does seem to be the fact that our Cahokia is performing nicely and is just basically all caught up, you know, or at least in terms of, it feels like that. I mean, Jinyang, maybe we could have gotten Kansa out a little bit faster and been able to secure the iron, but this is feeling pretty good here. We do get Moche now as a Suze, and that is real fast, although this is kind of a high roll in terms of the luck. And we have a little bit of an option. We could go for the megalith. This will be +1 food for every adjacent rural tile, must be built on flat terrain, but also just gives flat 2 culture. And this is something that we can look to kind of convert as things get later. I think that that'll maybe be our second choice, but our first choice is going to be the free civic, because we are going to go for a few of these guys. If we weren't planning on going for multiples of these guys, we would change things a little bit differently, but we do get mysticism 2 plus food, 2 food in all settlements. I think that that's maybe a little bit gratuitous, and we're not going to quite need that, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to take out the production of science and put in the 2 golden settlements, considering we're up to 3 settlements here. I think the break point is kind of around 4. +1 production on monument, that's an incredible roll here. The hub of culture, you're talking about... Monument's already kind of an insane building, but we are going to be in 1 turn unlocking that, and we are going to be getting down our 4th settle as things kind of gear up. We do have the altar right there that is about to get or put down. Let's take a look. What were we heading up towards that got bricked over here? Were we heading up towards a tile? We were. What happened here? Okay, I mean, I guess we're going to take a look over here, and that's going to be the new kind of thing. We do need to find out where we're heading in terms of the settle, and it feels pretty bad in terms of finding things out, but it does help that we got a little bit of additional scouting. This monument is already like one of the best buildings that we can build, and now it's just so much better that things are going to be really looking up. I think that we're going to just go for this to lock on the gold, and then look to build over these tiles kind of a little bit soon. We can do that next turn, and then from here, I think we don't have much reason to go for sailing. I think we'll go into writing here and just look to start placing down our districts. But this is our 4th settle. On turn 31, Opone is a little bit less friendly. Oh no. We're not on the coast, so it's not too big a deal. We get an expansionist attribute point. That is going to play nice because we are about to get started on another settler in the next turn here. We will grab, I think, the Cowlin, because that will make it so that in the capital we can grow a little bit faster, and we will move one of these over in order to make room for, well, yeah, we just want to have all the resources slotted in. That's what we want, and here we will get the growth a little bit faster in terms of getting onto this ivory. We will get this. I don't think we're going to change the policies, but we are going to go for the 2nd tier here, and then we will get started on this settler right now. So it'll be done in 7 turns, and so we will be getting the 5th settler out, whereas in the other run we had already settled the city in terms of things. But the flip side is, I think we'll be 1.5 turns ahead, or 1.5 techs ahead of where we were, and also not a full civic ahead, but pretty close. Or we'll be like, we'll have this, whereas the other start didn't. Actually, no, the other start had discipline, I think. So a little bit behind in the culture relative to the Himiko run, because Himiko did get an early agreement in terms of culture with someone else. We have an agreement with science. We can send out our own agreement, or we can go for Opone here. I think we kind of want to keep an eye on what's happening, but choosing Opone definitely would make a lot of sense. So we saved up a couple turns for in Choctaw to convert this into a city. I think it's a little bit risky because there is a unit, but I think that we will be in time to buy a unit, and that getting Choctaw to a city now is going to be really, really nice. And so we will convert it to a city because it has so many yields off of the wonder, and so this is going to be really good. And look at the absolute monstrous monument it can build right here adjacent to the natural wonder. Now the problem with this is we want to keep the monument basically for all time. There's not going to be a time where we will not want the monument, and so I think we're going to actually put the monument here. And the reason for this is that the monument will have monstrous yields in the next stage. It'll be 2 culture, 2 influence, and the subsequent age it'll be 3 influence, 3 culture with the same cheap maintenance cost. And so we never want to build over it. And this is a tile that we're going to want to build over because we can put really good specialists here. However, the specialists here are not going to be as good because they will only be affecting 1 building, because the city hall is not going to have these adjacency bonuses, so it'll play much better here, and this is just going to be an absolutely monstrous monument in terms of how things are going to shake out here. And we can, I think we're going to go for a warrior because the migrant isn't going to really play all that well, and also the warrior we can work on over here to help deal with that, so that's going to work perfectly. in the last kind of run, we went for the influence. I think we're going to go for the influence again. I think we will have enough options here. And now we have a little bit of a consideration for going for Opponent. It looks like they're probably actually getting dispersed, though, which is unfortunate. We kind of do want... We're kind of interested in these camels, if they do get dispersed, of maybe settling, like, a really silly city, like, right here, and then looking with the game plan of sacking Caesar's city. Because then we would have the wine, or if the wine is not on Petalucci, if it is, then we wouldn't be able to do that. But this would be a really good city right here. And Caesar's already really pissed at us, so I think that it'll probably be in our future anyways here. And so that'll just be the vibe. I think that we go for the silk here. Or actually, no. We prioritize getting over here to this. Now, why can't we grab the gold right now? Because there's a unit on it. That makes sense. And so I think we will get better yields overall from this. And maybe we work our way over here. But we will be able to slot better resources in here. Because this is now a city. We will shift this over. And in this way, we also get to make better use of this. I think we'll just prefer production in Choctaw. I think that it'll just generally play a little bit better. And we're not getting more science there, so we won't move over the incense there. Here we get to lock down a little bit more space for ourselves and gain some more yields, but this is going kind of slow. I think our next gold investment is actually going to be for this city in order to free up our ability to grab the cotton, because we desperately want to get the cotton, and we're going to need more yields there if we want to do that. Still haven't found the next settlement spot, though. I'm thinking that this is looking promising with these two resources, so we're going to keep looking around there, and when the settler finishes, if we don't know yet, we're going to send them over here, but we're hoping to find something a little bit more concrete. A little bit of a loose misplay by us. You know, when we were doing the resources before, we didn't move the Callan over to Choctaw, which it is going to generate more food in Choctaw, so we do correct that as we kind of turn up to turn 88, or 38 rather, not 88, and we are still looking here, but we're going to find something soon, I think. And this is looking pretty promising as well. Something in here. The Callan's kind of in an awkward spot, but right here might be reasonable. This is kind of the critical point on whether or not we find a good settle. There's maybe something in here. We could settle the Callan in this if, like, the very worst case scenario, but that's really not the best settlement kind of location here. Still kind of very tempting. Oh, Opone now has a guy here, and there's no enemy. So, I think that we start befriending them. This looks fine. I don't think that they get dispersed, and Caesar's honestly going to deck us soon. And so, I mean, it's between Opone and us settling there like an absolute madman. We actually can't settle in the exact spot we would want, but we could take a settlement right here, which just seems like mildly psychotic. But it is going to hit all the yields. It is going to hit all the yields, and it will hit double camel. And this is going to be a little bit of a thing. This is actually such a critical decision point because we can... Well, if there's units here, we probably can't go for this in terms of the settle. Oh, yikes. We should have not done all that move at once, because now we want to come here. So we can't settle near this anyways. We were not thinking with our dipstick and using this, so we can't settle near here anyways. So this is going to be kind of our only hope. Otherwise, we maybe just go for this psychotic settle up here. Just right here. With the game plan of just, like, full denying a city on Caesar at some point. In which case, we're really putting kind of to the test a little bit the combat ability of our civ. But we're not seeing another settle that we really like, considering we think we integrate Moshe, and so all the resources around Moshe are within range of it as a city. We think that, okay, I mean, we could settle here for, like, 3 resources. That seems a little bit underwhelming. Here's maybe going to have 3. I think we will... And if we're heading this way, well, maybe we head this way, which is slightly flexible, and if we want to go for the other thing, we can. And so this will be a little bit good. Confucius denounces us. I think we'll just... I think he's just going to keep denouncing us because we're sharing borders. So I think we're going to be playing nice with Mr. Inca over here. So at least for the time being. Seeing as we've produced everything we need to produce, though, we're going to go monument. We maybe should have gone monument earlier. Brick this tile. And we will be able to keep this a monument forever. And then we will have a little bit of growth, and we will pick something for the yields, probably one of these tiles here. One where we think we will brick it relatively soon, like putting a library there will be fine, and so that one will be the most flexible, because I think we do brick that. Yeah, we just need to peel off another turn before we decide here, because we need to kind of see what we can see from here. Now, seeing as we need to make a decision here, like right now, we're going to use the scouting here, and that kind of answers our question in terms of where we're supposed to settle, I think. I think we come over here, and we settle the natural wonder, and we leave this psychotic city, and if we're leaving this psychotic city settle alone and not going for it, then I think we want to sue Zappone. We can still befriend him. We can still settle this later if we decide to, but this is going to be a little bit nicer. We really hope that he doesn't disperse there. Also, I don't know how they haven't grabbed that ruin yet. I suppose we will send our warrior over there once he's done, but this is going to be turn 40. So we have a suzerain relative to the last run, but we don't have 5 cities yet, and we won't have 5 cities for like another 6-ish turns, but we will have 2 natural wonder settles. And so we do have some compensation. We're going to see exactly where we want to settle near the natural wonder here. And there's going to be like a few options, but something in here is looking good. We have this natural wonder settle, just absolute monstrous monument. And as far as how things are going from a tech perspective, we're researching right now the mastery for this, and so we are going to be able to steal science and tech really, really effectively, and then we are also, of course, finishing up this. By the time we get there, we will be able to settle and then move in on Code of Laws, and we already have the mastery here researched. So I do think that this is, you know, considering that the food bloom is supposed to just be absolutely insane, and we do get extra yields from Himiko from the agreements that are for free, I do think that this run actually looks very, very strong out from Ben Franklin. And like, this is kind of what we were thinking of when we were thinking of the food bloom, is it's like not gonna, it looks, I think, I'm beginning to doubt how good we actually think it is, or just in particular this science bloom alternative with Ben Franklin specifically is pretty strong, going for the attribute point and the science, because we do get the production enables us to catch up quite strongly, you know, in terms of what's going on, and then the science as well does play really well. We're also generating, we have a ton of influence, these types of things, although with Himiko maybe we misplayed by denying the denounce, and so this is looking pretty strong as well. We haven't gotten to make use of this cotton. Once we do, that'll feel really strong. We'll put it in all our towns. But things are looking really, really nice. Moche is going to be insane once we integrate it. We could even think about integrating it sometime soonish. It's only 240 to incorporate. That's not that bad. There's also something to be said to be going like a Diplo Bloom or something like that with Ben Franklin, where we would get way more influence, but we seem to be doing okay here. Anyways, so considering both of these runs were explosive, I think we'll try and cook something a little bit spicy up on Xerxes in terms of the start. Something we expect to maybe not perform that well, but maybe highlight some of the strengths of Mississippi and give us a little bit of a good look. Again, if you wanted to see us continue this run, because we're only going to continue one of them, put something in the comments or upvote the comments or respond to the comments, this type of stuff. Whatever looks like it's going to be interesting to people most is probably going to be the one that we continue on, barring some crazy revelation or opinion from me. So, let's get on to Xerxes. Alright, we decided to go for some spicy mementos on Xerxes, and this is our first roll, but this is insane. This is 3 2/2 resources plus 2 Cowlins. We are, I mean, I guess if we were to complain about anything is we don't have a lot of tiles to have mines on, but we do have a clay pit here. We can notably move, but I don't see much reason to move other than, you know, the police are coming for us because this start is just way too strong. It's not allowed, but we went for the scientific attribute point they do be coming for us. Them's things be thingin'. We went for the scientific attribute point. I actually think that this plays pretty nicely, just like on its own, getting +1 science in all cities and towns, just right off the bat. It's kind of a little bit of some smoothness. I think that this is reasonable for pushing up science, and I did want to offset the fact that we're going to be getting culture just fine, and get a little bit there. And we went with bifocals for 50 influence. We thought about going for the diplomatic attribute point. If we thought that you consistently get events, we're not diplomatic on either our civilization or our leader, so I think it's harder for us to roll events that give us a Diplo attribute point. If you get a Diplo attribute, if you get 2 Diplo attribute points in the first age, it's absolutely insane because you can soothe people very, very well by having the discount. But we're just going to get those in the age transition probably for the 2 Diplo attribute points. But for now, we have a scientific attribute point, which we will be able to make use of right away to hopefully, you know, get some of these techs a little bit faster. We'll go extra science per age on the palace and city halls, so this will play quite nicely. And then for our production, we will go into scout, and we will have a much slower start here than either the other two, except for we roll just absolutely insano on the resources here. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be. Yeah, I mean, we just rolled insane. I'm not sure the best tech here for us. We don't have any camps. These are all pasture tiles. In fact, I think we're actually going to build a granary here, not necessarily first, but at some point. So I think that we are going to have a clay pit, potentially. We are going to have some plantations, so the food on plantations is going to be reasonable. But then I think we're more likely to have woodcutters. Are we? No, we're going to have quarries. We're going to have quarries, and so getting the extra production from the brickyard is going to make sense here as we go into our second scout and have a little bit of a look around in terms of what things are and how things are going. We're going to try and be a little bit careful here and scout a little bit more deliberately on these first turns. Like, we know that our turn movement's going to end, so we do, by doing one at a time and then searching there, we can get a little bit more. I think we go this way, even though this has more yields first, because we will get into the sheep a little bit faster by going this way. Something like this, and then we will end turn. We will get our growths pretty quick, not as quick as we had the +2 food tile, but this is a pretty high roll here to roll production here right out the gate. And now we have a choice whether we want to go triple scout or to sit on our construction, and I'm actually not sure what's better here. We could just force pass the turn for several turns, or, hear me out here, maybe we're supposed to go granary here. That feels a little wrong, but we are going to be working 3... No, we don't go granary here. We either go scout, additional scout, since we're on size 2, or we go wait until we get this. We don't have enough construction to build the granary, so I think we just force end the turn here for several turns by clicking shift enter until we can build that brickyard, and then we will be picking up this Cowlin, then head on over to this, something like that. I think will be how we are going to be playing this. Alright, so we get our growth event, and that might change up a little bit how we are approaching things, because we can't brick this tile unless we commit to building a granary. I don't think it does. Also, we were thinking we were going to build a scout if we couldn't decide on where our second settle would be in the very, very near future, but now seeing that we do have a natural wonder just right over here, and some cotton and some figs and like this type of stuff, we're almost certainly settling over there next. So we're going to continue to shift enter to pass the turn here. We're heading on over to, we're heading into Nowheresville real fast, looking for a way to get to that, but it's just shift enter from here. We got 3 more turns. We're going to eventually get the brickyard, use the brickyard to brick, this tile, and be able to work our way over to the Cowlin slash get a little bit of extra production here on the clay pit as we kind of come on over here and discover where exactly the second settler is going. We, of course, shift enter again. 2 more turns here, and we will discover 2 cities or 2 opponents in one kind of run. Now, for this Xerxes run, we want to lean into trade really, really hard. So we are going to friendly greet everyone, you know, because we have a trade bonus for our civ, we have a trade bonus for who we are, and so we are going to really want to lean into this and do friendly greetings on both and try to avoid settling right on someone's borders like we have the past 2 games. Alright, so we get a bit of a continuing of high rolls. I think we've already gotten production. We get more production here, but we don't have anything selected. Doesn't matter. Still rolls over, still will be valuable, still will get us the brickyard. We're coming on over, and now, this next turn, we will finish the research on this pottery in here. And so what we will be able to do is we will be able to switch over to doing animal husbandry, and we will be able to start working on the brickyard, which of course will brick a tile. It will have this tile over here be worked. That's just going to be very temporary because we're going to peel another turn off and more production. Let's go, baby. It of course overflows, so it doesn't really matter, but incidentally we will have another growth event next turn, so we're actually going to force end the turn again because next turn we will be able to do some shenanigans for our civic. We're going to again go for mysticism. This is just kind of how we want to go. We're not going to produce anything here because we have shenanigans planned, and we're going to be going for the culture there as well. And I think we're going to choose culture here because we do want to make sure that we lock in the influence on the altar, and then we're just going to end the turn. And next turn we get to work the cotton, but not only are we going to work the cotton, we're just going to be able to now brick the farm because we don't really want the farm here, and then we don't really want the granary because we were just kidding, and so we're going to cancel that, and so we will get refunded a city growth and be able to work a much better tile like this, 2 production, 2 of this, and then be on our way to working the cowlin, all while getting our settler in just 4 turns on turn 12 here. So, you know, this feels pretty solid in terms of opening as well, but we have way better scaling because we have an attribute point and we are going to be getting a lot of influence, and so this influence will help us to have good outcomes overall in this age. I think we are going to take a little bit of a look around because we want to find, yeah, this and this are the 2 things we want to find. I think we're going to go for this one down here, and we will be able to, we'll have a settle in here somewhere. We do want to make sure we get this, so silver, because silver is a pretty strong resource, so the settle might even be right here. That's kind of an awkward settle though. Maybe we don't end up getting the silver. It's an awkward settle because we're killing the only tile that has, well, first of all, you don't want to settle right on this one because it gives adjacent rural sites plus yields, but we would also be killing the only tile here that can possibly have a double building adjacency. So maybe we end up doing something like over here or up here and then something down here, and we try and have 2 cities working the wonder or something like this. We'll move one over, we will see that we will be able to get there next turn, so we'll take a look around and then have that set up for the following turn here. And we do have another one of those over here, so I think that our first settler is pretty obviously going over here. Don't know where the second settler is, but this is looking like there's going to be something to it, so we might just loop around here. We do see another goody hut, so that will probably be pretty good for us, and we just, Jesus, we just keep rolling like production. Like production is so good to roll early on. We're gonna get this settler out on turn 15, and then we're just gonna be able to go multiple settlers in a row. We're not quite having as much as production as we did on the run with. Here's a little bit of a choice here between whether we go around. Let's try and go around. But we get a Diplo action. We have been holding back because we want to be able to support endeavors, and so now we get our first endeavor support, and we are going to be able to. We haven't seen anything we can suzerain pretty aggressively, but I think that we can either go Earthworks into Mastery 1, or we can go Disciplined Code of Laws into Mastery 2, and I think this might be the deviation that we make for this run, is we maybe don't go Earthworks into this right away, although plus 10% production on buildings is so good. I think that we do want to grab that, and if we're grabbing that, we want to grab the other stuff, and we see a friendly city-state, and so, okay, so this is both good and bad. It's good because we like the friendly city-state, it's bad because we're going to make them unfriendly if we settle on top of this. And so, we'll have to have a little bit of a think here, actually. I swear to God, I don't know how to manipulate RNG on these things, to just roll production every time. There was one, you saw one where we didn't roll production. Also, I don't have eyes. I thought this was a navigable river. It's not. And so the settle is just very obviously here, because we get the dates, we get the silver, we get the cotton, we get the ginseng, we get the being adjacent to the wonder and being able to work it kind of right away-ish. I think we actually do here into the cotton, something like this. And we are going to have 2 tiles where we will have 2 wonder adjacencies, something like this. And we upset this guy, but, you know, whatever, that sounds like a him problem. As we get on the Cowlin here, which is going to help us to grow a lot, and then we are going to be going for this, and so 2 turns until the next settler. We don't really know where the next settle is, unfortunately, but we will be, we're still looking for it. I don't know where it is. I think it's in here somewhere. I think it's over here. We're gonna hope that this scout finds it, and we're probably going to start walking that way anyways. It is a very awkward spot, though. It could maybe be up here. The scouts have been a little bit awkward. We are 3 turns from being able to buy a scout. I think we're going to buy a scout and take this tile, or buy a warrior and take this tile. Maybe we buy a warrior and take the tile, or even better, we buy our unique unit and we take this over here. So we're going to be moving this guy. We see that there's going to be a city-state over here somewhere, because we can't settle kind of exactly where we want, and now we're in a really awkward spot. Okay, this is gonna take, we're gonna have to have a little bit of a think here. I do not know, there's no settle that looks particularly good here, knowing that we're already settling here, and we're going to be hitting the dates and the iron. There's, I mean, maybe there's something down here, but I think it's just the wrong way. I think that this looks like coast, and I don't want to settle these 3 resources here. I mean, I suppose if we're gonna take out Kwaiji, then maybe a settle makes sense. I mean, there's no place to walk but up to the left, is there? Unless there's something down and to the left. But we're a little bit shy on the resources. Maybe we come here? We'll come here. And we'll try and figure it out, I guess. So we have to make the undistinguished play of just sending our settler down and to the left, because this warrior is chasing our worker over here, or our scout over here, so we're not going to be able to just walk up there. We're going to go for God of the Sun, because the one that we wanted was taken, and we will look to backtrack this guy, and since we're like so desperate here for just information about what stuff is, we're going to go an additional scout, which is not normally how we would like to play this, sinking the gold into the scout rather than a military unit, but I think that it's going to be kind of worth it. We could have gone for the military unit, but the scout's going to get the information we need to get down our 2 additional settles much faster. I think we're going to go for earthworks. I think it's too good, but this is just incredibly awkward, the position we find ourselves in, which, I mean, it's fair enough, but it's also really awkward. So hopefully we can find something reasonable. We're going to try and walk on the fresh water if we can. I mean, that's one heuristic we could use. And Kwaiji is very soon going to be quite upset with us, because we're going to lay down that settle here. We're going to just beeline the cotton. We want to work it as fast as we can. And then we will, once we get that, we will also shift it, or we will put it in this town, in the Cree town. Nice getting the production on the rivers too, especially on the cotton. We will get the warrior here rather than the migrant, which is going to be good. I think we will send them down and probably have them loop to the right. So with the scout, we will just head straight down here, kind of getting some of the information we want. We almost certainly want to settle on top of the silver in some way, or near the silver. So we will probably want to settle near the gypsum. And so just kind of inferring, well, we should have grabbed that, but just inferring where we're probably going to want to put stuff. We're going to support this, even though it's not that great for us, just because we want him to be happy with us. And we are trailing in other stuff, but we're playing a catch-up type of like strategy here. I think we send this guy down and to the left, and then the scout is going to be getting no information for us because he get jacked up by this warrior. This is kind of unfortunate the way this is rolling out here. We could just blind settle here. I mean, this place, this square is very likely to have other things. We could just wait for the scout. We can't settle any closer here. We know that there's a city center or whatever here. The thing is, up here might be better. We're going to come here and grab this. Again, we roll the production. And then we're going to need to make a really tough decision about where to settle with limited information, which will maybe be an interesting exercise. We do want to keep working on over towards the various yields that we want to work. I think we're going to come in here and go towards the sheep. And then this scout is in a rough spot. Is this a lake? It is a lake, so we are going to think that we can move around here, around in a circle. We know that there's a city-state here, and this guy is not going to be long for this world at this rate. And we're maybe sending the other guy to the same fate. We don't have enough to buy another unit, so this is going to be what we have to work with. And we do see the sheep. Okay. Is sheep enough to come back here, settle? We could work the sheep eventually, and we will have sheep, gypsum, silver, and a settle this turn. I think we'll have to settle for this. I think this is what we do, and then we try and find a way to defend all this by killing the guys. In terms of what we work first, I think we just work our way over to the sheep, especially because we get more information. This really isn't the settle I'm the most proud of, but a timely settle is kind of more important than running our guy around in a circle for forever, because we have another settler coming out. And I think we have to build a unit as well now, which is a very annoying distinction here, but we will build a unit. We see that there's fresh water this way, and so we will start marching on over, and we see that there's good tiles. Okay. I'm starting to feel better about this. Kusa is not very good, but we do get the salt in Kusa as well. So this ends up being kind of okay, okay-ish city. And, with the city up here being okay, and there being a good okay city up there when we eventually get to it, I suddenly feel way, way better than I did 10 seconds ago when I felt really terrible. I'm not sure what gives you opportunities to roll certain events. This is something I'd like to know a little bit better, because this event is insane. +1 influence on all settlements, considering we're going to have a lot of settlements and we really want that influence. That's going to be really, really valuable. The other option was just flat influence. We build a unit out of the capital, and we are heading over to try and settle this city up here. This is a little scary. We want to time it so that we have a purchase available, but we are stretched real thin. We're going to go masonry. We can maybe go writing first. Writing would give us the better building to build for right now, because when we build with the double adjacency, it is going to be really nice for generating a bit of extra food. And I think we're going to go for this here. We don't really need the settlement limit, but the gold adjacency on buildings is probably going to be pretty nice here. We could also just go for discipline into code of laws and get trading as quickly as possible, but I do think that this one's going to be worth going, especially as we start to settle into things. Unfortunately, I think there's a decent chance we have to go another unit, and we are not going to be going a settler here. And also that we just want to get an altar, actually, I think is going to be what we end up wanting to do. We need to build something here. I guess we go saw pit is going to be... No, the altar is going to be a little bit more construction efficient, so we're going to go altar first here. We might build the saw pit over there. We might build the saw pit over here, but it is a bit of a kind of sticky situation, but it is one that is born out of the fact that we wanted this type of role anyways, where we are... Oh my god. We find even more city-states here in Epone and another natural wonder. So we knew that there was a city-state kicking somewhere over here. We know that there's another one down here. We know this because we are on this settler map mode, and we can see it in terms of blocking our settles. But okay, Epone we might want to actually disperse. And Epone is bricking some of our reasonable or better settles. I think we're going to try and settle here, and so it's not breaking that. But that's actually going to get it on this, just barely touch the natural wonder. So that's actually going to be really good for what we want to do. And so we will see some of the units for Epone, and maybe we can pull some of them off. But we're going to come in here. We did heal up a little bit here. We did want to... Okay, the cotton's going to be good. But feeling a little bit better about this. And then I think we come up here and we look to settle right here with enough units or with enough gold to buy a unit, which we probably will. So we get 2 cultural exchanges, one with Augustus, one with Ada, and so this is going to be really nice in terms of playing nice with these guys long term until we can get the trade routes up, which are going to give us plus relations, and we are going to be able to send 2 trade routes apiece without any additional assistance. We are looking down the barrel of 2 guns right now, which is very uncomfortable. This scout is probably going to get interfered with from some guy from Opone, and this down here, ooh, nice that we have the salt in Kusa, but also we have this. Considering we have this, we're going to go for the burning arrow here, and considering we did that, we have 3 turns until we could buy a unit out of a settlement we settle here. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to run away up and to the left as best we can. I think we come down here and then we pew-pew him. No, we pew-pew this guy. That works. He won't be able to do too much damage on the crackback. It's a little bit, but we get to get more work done. And here's the guy that we were trying to avoid. So we're going to just run away here, get a little bit of scouting done, and maybe try and come back. But we were trying to avoid that guy. We knew it was coming. I think that the angle where we were at, we would not be able to stand on the tile that we wanted to work our way over to. And we did want to make sure that we had a guy in. So the defense here is a little bit rough in terms of how things are going. We're having to think through these turns a little bit. Considering we're not going to be buying another thing immediately, we can repair this tile. But this is, I mean, maybe we're supposed to run up and settle over here blind. I don't think we want to be next to... I don't think we want to be next to Ada, though. I really don't think that we want to be hitting that negative relations, and so maybe we try and squeeze around through here, but there's another city-state down here, which is why we can't settle there. So really having difficulty finding the 4th settle here. So I think we are going to have to buy a warrior down here. It is a bit unfortunate because we're getting close to hitting the silver over here, and maybe soon-ish the silver over here, but this is just the state of affairs, given that there is a boat coming in on us too. I don't think we can resist, and we have this guy coming in, where we had marched our guy on up to be able to try and deal with him. I think we would just keep passing the turn here with this settler, and we have this coming in. I think we're going to say yes to this. That represents quite a lot of yields for us right now, at least at this juncture in the game, and eventually we will stop saying yes, but we also want to play nice with both of these guys. For our production over here, I think we take the saw pit and we finish it over here, which will generate us additional yields in terms of food from the adjacency, producing a quarter, getting science and culture, and something like this. We could go Pock-Top. Pock-Top's not terrible, except it is. So we're going to be going for the saw pit instead, really valuing the construction here, with the idea that maybe we go settler after this, except for there is no place to settle. So this is going to be a little bit of a difficult part of what we have to do, is we have to figure out where we're going to settle. Let's turn the yields back on. But this is looking kind of rough. We get slingered down. There is like good land over here is the only thing I can think of, but we have to somehow get around Opone, and maybe we just want to go for Opone here. I wonder if they just like can't resist biting on the settler. I don't think he has a kill on the burning arrow next turn if we shoot him, and if he goes for the settler, then we will have more than enough kind of leeway here to go for him. So I think that's probably what we do, and then I guess we just need to march this scout up this way and try and distract as much as possible. The AI seems to move in mysterious ways sometimes here, but really hurts when they have a boat. The boats are just so painful. We're going to fortify up with the warrior here, and this scout we're going to look to just try and survive, kind of. He's so low health that stopping the heals maybe not worth it. We see that we will have 2 turns of movement to get to this. I think we come here, and then we die. Yeah, then we die. But there is a good settle over here. So, there is a good settle over here. That is the news that we have received. It's just going to be difficult for us to access it. But, I think that that's what we go for next turn, is the settler to try and get to 5, even though we haven't settled this one yet. We do get the kill on this guy. And we're going to take a little bit of a spicy move. I don't think they like to come out too much in force, and we do have this 200 gold in reserve for when we found another city, and also we're getting a little saturated on the resources here too, so that is a bit of an unfortunate one. We have no room for additional resources, but with these troops that we have down here, maybe we can guide a settler somewhere in here to find a settle. We are working this already, so what we would like is probably a settle right here that hits both the cotton, or a settle here that hits the gold as well, and a settle here would notably be able to bink the very edge of the Grand Canyon. However, we're not really getting good use out of the Grand Canyon, so maybe it's more over here, something like that, because we're looking to settle over here for the other side of the Grand Canyon, and so getting two to make use of the Grand Canyon is something we're into. But for now, it's going to be trying to take out this boat. I think that we overall can, and it's looking like we're going to be able to get through this here. I think this guy heals up, and then we do want to settle in such a way that we get the silver. So I think that we have that in the bag. This is kind of a tense turn right here, or a tense spot. We do one at a time. We settle. And we have City 4. City 4 is locked up, and City 5 will be somewhere over here in a very, very awkward type of standoff that we have to go for. We could go for Monument here, but I think that getting cities down is just so strong, so we'll go for that. But we also have this consideration is we're starting to work some of these wonder tiles. They do give us production. Maybe convert to city is somewhere in the cards here in the near future, although probably not before turn 40 here.